This phone launched at $199 with a 2-year contract. 6 weeks later, Amazon cut the price to 99 cents. Not $99, 99 cents. Then came the number Amazon could not hide inside a product demo. A $170 million charge, primarily tied to Fire Phone inventory and supplier commitments. Even after that, the company reported another $83 million of phones and commitments still sitting on the books. Amazon had built Kindles people loved, a shopping empire competitors feared, and a cloud business that would reshape the internet. So how did the same company build a phone almost nobody wanted?
The easy explanation is that the Fire Phone was too expensive. Amazon itself later acknowledged that it had misjudged the price. But that does not explain why a AT phone with free Prime, unlimited photo storage, a capable camera, live customer support, and technology no other phone had could not recover, even after Amazon practically gave it away. The deeper problem was visible before the first phone ever shipped. Amazon had designed a remarkably sophisticated answer to a Lalin encoder, question customers were not asking. On the moldy inside, one tiny buttons on the side of the phone was the clue to what Amazon thought the product was really for. In 2014, the bet did not look ridiculous. Amazon had already trained millions of people to carry a Kindle. Its Fire tablets proved that customers would buy inexpensive hardware deeply connected to Amazon's books, movies, music, and shopping. The company had also learned something important. Controlling the device meant controlling the front door. On an iPhone, Apple controlled that door. On most Android phones, Google did. Their app stores, maps, search tools, accounts, and the payment systems lived between Amazon and the customer. A successful Amazon phone could change that. It could keep Prime members inside Amazon's world all day, not just when they opened the shopping app. And the economic price was larger than the price of the handset. A two phone can influence where a person searches, what they watch, which assistant they ask, where their photos live, and which store receives the next purchase. When the phone, where they ask, and Amazon could occupy the few seconds between a customer wanting something and buying it. That helps explain why the company was willing to build unusual hardware instead of releasing another ordinary Android device. An ordinary device might sell. A distinctly Amazon device could redraw the relationship. There was only one problem. A tablet can be a second screen. A phone is the screen people organize their lives around. To replace it, Amazon did not merely need to build something interesting. It had to convince people to leave behind their apps, habits, purchases, career, and trust. That is an enormous switching cost. Amazon's answer was differentiation. At the launch event on June 18, 2014, Jeff Bezos introduced a feature called Dynamic Perspective. 4 specialized cameras and 4 infrared lights track the position of the user's head. As the person moved, the image on the screen shifted with them. Buildings appeared to rise from a map. A shopper could tilt the phone to see different angles of a dress. In games, players could move their heads to peer around an object. It was clever. It was difficult to build. And for a few minutes on stage, it looked like the future. But a product demo and a daily habit are not the same thing. Contemporary reviewers found that the phone's defining features could hurt battery life. When Engadget reviews said the device could get through a normal day until Dynamic Perspective and Firefly were used heavily. The reviewer also found a 720p screen, a blocky body, and hardware that did not clearly outperform the flagship phones it was priced against. This was the first crack. Amazon had spent enormous attention making the phone visibly different. Customers still had to ask whether the difference made their day meaningfully better. 4 cameras could make your map lean toward you. They could not make your favorite missing app appear. Then there was Firefly. Press the dedicated button, point the camera at a phone number, web address, song, movie, barcode, or physical product, and the Fire phone would try to recognize it. Amazon Saeed Firefly could identify more than 100 million items. Some of this was genuinely useful. A phone number on a sign could become a contact. A song playing nearby could be identified. Customer support was available through Mayday, with a live Amazon representative able to appear on the device and help.
This is important because calling the entire product stupid would make the story simpler and less true. Firefly anticipated a world in which cameras understand what they see. Mayday addressed the genuine frustration of setting up an unfamiliar device. The camera itself earned qualified praise. Amazon's engineers had solved difficult problems. The failure came from the distance between technical achievement and customer urgency. A feature can work exactly as designed and still fail to change a buying decision.
But Firefly also exposed the strategic tension at the center of the phone. Pointed at a product, and the natural next action was to find that product through Amazon. The side of the device did not have a button dedicated to the thing customers already loved doing on phones. It had a button that made the physical world easier to shop. For Amazon, that was brilliant. Every shelf, advertisement, and object could become an entrance to its store. For considering a $649 phone, without a contract, the value was less obvious. Amazon had invented أداة شكل آياتي. Payabiyu the Yes Sunday could recognize أداة, books of cereal. And his Tigodas Lawul Wonderate Rated Deity Emerit Rated Deity. But Ades Lawul Wonderate Rated Deity, Kujiltiati. Manchel the S Lawul books of cereal. What it could not do was make a Verizon customer use AT&T. The second sacrifice was the customer's app live. Fire OS was based on Android, but the Fire phone did not provide normal access to Google Play or Google's official apps. Customers used Amazon's App Store instead. That trade-off could work on a low-cost tablet used for reading and video. On a primary phone, it was much harder. In 2014, phone buyers were not selecting a rectangle made of glass. They were choosing an ecosystem. They were email messages, chimes, accessories, paid apps, and muscle memory already lived somewhere. The Amazon store had major names, but contemporary reviews noted missing applications and problems with apps that depended on Google Play services. Either determined technical user could sideload some Android apps. A normal customer shopping for a flagship phone was unlikely to consider that a feature. Think about the sales pitch from the customer's side. Buy the same contract price as a leading iPhone or Samsung phone. Potentially switch carriers. Leave a larger app ecosystem. Learn a different interface. And in return, get a phone that moved its screen when you moved your head and made shopping on Amazon unusually convenient. The product was different. The bargain was not persuasive. The third sacrifice was freedom of choice. In the United States, the Fire phone launched exclusively on AT&T. The 32GB model cost $199 with a 2-year contract, or roughly $649 without one. The 64GB version cost more. Those were flagship prices. But Amazon was not entering an empty market. For roughly the same contract price, customers could choose phones from Apple, Samsung, HTC, or LG companies with established hardware reputations, broader app ecosystems, and devices available through more carriers. The original iPhone had succeeded with IAT carrier exclusive. But by 2014, the market had changed. People already had smartphones. Amazon was not introducing the category. It was asking satisfied customers to defect. That difference changes the burden of proof. New category can win because nothing comparable exists. 30 late entrant has to displace something that already works. Interesting is no longer enough. The replacement must be better in it why the customer feels repeatedly, not only during the first demonstration. The free year of Prime was valuable. Unlimited photo storage was valuable. The camera received some praise. Mayday support was unusually helpful. None of those benefits removed the central question: why should this become my phone? Not my second tablet. Not an interesting Amazon gadget. Not my phone. The Fire phone never produced a strong enough answer. The Fire phone began shipping in the United States on July 25, 2014. On September 8, only about 6 weeks later, Amazon announced that the 32GB model would cost 99 cents with a 2-year contract. The off-contract price fell by $200, from about $649 to about $449. A dramatic price cut can create demand. It can also tell the market that early demand was not there. And the timing made the message even louder. Amazon announced the cut one day before Apple's next iPhone event. For anyone who had been waiting to see whether the Fire phone would catch on, the cut created a second question. If Amazon had already removed nearly the entire upfront price, what did it know that buyers did not? The contract still mattered. A 99-cent phone could require 2 years of service, 2 years inside an unfamiliar ecosystem, and 2 years with the carrier Amazon had selected. The sticker became tiny. The commitment did not. The phone that had entered the market as a premium challenger was now being sold for less than a bottle of water, as long as the buyer accepted the same 2-year commitment. But price was not the whole disease. It was of its symptom. A 99-cent sticker did not add Google Play. It did not remove the AT&T restriction. It did not transform dynamic perspective into a daily necessity. And the Pegasus, it could not erase the signal sent to anyone who had paid $199. Lalka safan formen tainanan daily necessity. And safante daily safan formen daily necessity. And necessity few weeks earlier, Amazon had lowered the cost of saying yes. It had not created better reason to say yes. Then the failure moved from reviews and price tags into Amazon's financial records. In its filing for the quarter ending September 2014, Amazon recorded an estimated $170 million in charges primarily related to Fire phone inventory valuation and supplier commitment costs. It also reported $83 million in remaining Fire phone inventory and non-cancelable supplier commitments. Notice the precise language. This was not a TIA disclosed total development cost or a TIA complete accounting of everything the phone lost. It was a TIA complete language, a TIA-specific charge, tied primarily to inventory value and supplier commitments. Amazon never published an official unit sales total. That restraint matters because the internet loves to turn an estimate into a fact and a charge into a clean loss number. The documented version is already dramatic enough. Amazon had committed to far more Fire phones than the market wanted. By September 2015, the device was no longer available from Amazon, and the company said its supply had sold out. There was no second-generation Fire phone. So what broke the Fire phone? Not one bad review. Not one missing app. Not even the original price by itself. The breaking point came when Amazon combined 3 forms of friction and offered novelty as the compensation. First, platform friction. Buyers had to accept a smaller app, world it and leave services they already used. Second, distribution friction. In the United States, the phone began as an AT&T exclusive. Third, value friction. Amazon charged flagship money for Ilea first-generation device, whose most distinctive features were impressive demonstrations, not essential reasons to switch. And underneath all three was a product definition problem. Amazon viewed the phone as a new entrance into Amazon. Shopping, box, music, video, Prime, and customer service in one device. Customers evaluated it as the most personal computer they owned. Those are not the same test. Firefly made Amazon's store more powerful. Dynamic perspective made the device more unusual. Mayday made support easier. But none of them solved the painful problem of abandoning a familiar phone ecosystem. The decisive mistake was asking, how can each phone make Amazon more useful, before fully answering, what would make this the best phone for the customer? That distinction sounds small. It is the entire story. The best product features usually compress a myriad frustration people already understand. Fewer steps, less waiting, lower cost, more confidence. The Fire phone's headline features often required explanation before their value became clear. Amazon had to demonstrate why the screen moved, why the extra cameras existed, and why a shopping recognition button deserved permanent space on the device. Every explanation added another small piece of work for the buyer. Meanwhile, the disadvantages needed almost no explanation. Wrong carrier. Missing app. Familiar service unavailable. Same price as the phone already trusted. When AT products benefits need opposite stage presentation but its drawbacks fits into opposite sentence, the sales problem has already begun. The Fire phone was not a random collection of foolish ideas. It was a logical, coherent expression of Amazon's strategy. That is exactly why the failure is so instructive. Sometimes a private company understands its own goals so well that it mistakes them for the customer's goals. More than a decade later, this story has become relevant again. In March 2026, Reuters reported that Amazon was developing a device internally called Transformer, citing people familiar with the project. The reporting described ideas involving voice, artificial intelligence, shopping, and Amazon services. But the ending is not written. Amazon did not confirm a new phone, and in my tese, in publicly said the company was not necessarily going after a phone, and that there was no clear path that made sense. That uncertainty is the interesting part. Today's companies are once again trying to convince customers that a new interface, this time artificial intelligence, deserves a place between them and everything they do. The temptation is the same. Build a device around what the company wants to distribute, then assume customers will reorganize their habits around it. Amazon might have learned a lesson. It might build something completely different. The reported project might never ship. But if it does, the question will not be whether the demonstration looks futuristic. It will be the question the Fire phone never answered. What painful, everyday problem does this solve so well that someone will leave the device they already trust? That is also why this failure matters beyond phones. Companies routinely confuse access with demand. They own a customer relationship, a distribution channel, or a famous brand, so they assume people will follow them into the next product. But recognition can earn a look, it cannot force a switch. The Fire phone did not break because Amazon was too small, too cautious, or unable to invent. It broke because invention was used to solve the wrong person's problem. That is the breaking point. Next, we are investigating how one of America's most successful retailers crossed into Canada with more than 100 stores and discovered that famous red logo could not fill an empty shelf. If you want that story, subscribe to What Broke It. Every collapse has a breaking point. We find it.